What is going on, people? It's been a while, but we are back and we are live. And tonight, on the return, as my guest settles in, um, we are blessed to have a very special guest coming on to the set 6145, a gentleman that I've admired for quite some time, probably as much as many of you. Um, the comedian who has now changed clothes and is entering into the world of politics. Tonight, we're going to be speaking to him, Mr. Rodney Red Grant. And this gentleman, I have a lot of admiration and respect for him because I feel like he's one of us. He's from the hood. He grew up. He made his bones. He climbed up from where he came from and created his own lane and made an immense career. I might add. I've seen him perform here in New York City with my wife at the Nokia Theater. He's traveled with one of the legends in Cat Williams and his troupe. And Mr. Grant has always given that feel of he's never lost touch of where he's from. So when I saw the transformation of Mr. Grant moving over into politics, I thought it was an amazing thing. I respected it. And you can see the look of determination of him really wanting to bring about change to his home city. So I'm not going to drag it on too long. We're going to run this introduction, and then we're going to welcome Mr. Grant to the show. All right, let's go. He talks about. Oh, our intro got cut short. Sorry, people. In any event, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mr. A. And as I said when we first started, tonight we're pleased to welcome a comedy legend who is now changing lanes and entering into the realm of politics, Mr. Rodney Red Grant. Now, if you don't remember who Mr. Grant is, everybody calls him Red Grant for short, but he has done some amazing things in the comedy world, and there's a lot more we're going to get to know about him, and I don't want to give too much away. So without further ado, tonight we want to welcome to the set, all the way from D.C., Mr. Rodney Red Grant.
Hey, what up?
Good evening, brother. First and foremost, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. We understand you're a busy guy, and we always appreciate people when they carve out, a little bit of themselves to give back to people in the community. So really appreciate you giving us your time tonight.
No problem, Mr. A. I appreciate you having me. It's truly a blessing to be on the show tonight, and I just want to make sure we have a good old time.
Oh, of course, naturally. So I don't want to I want to give the people a little bit of everything. So I really I want to start at the beginning. I understand that you just didn't, go to school and graduate and then, start breaking ground right out of high school. You actually went on to higher learning. You went to college. Do you have a bachelor's? Like, what is your highest degree earned? How many letters do you have after your name? I guess is what I'm asking.
I left high school and I went to Savannah State University where I played football there with Shannon Sharp. We had a fabulous time at Savannah State. I played Scout Buffer side at Savannah State University. And then I shout out to all the brothers at Cap Offside. Shout out to all the Greeks. Shout out to all the Divine Nine, because it's so important, that we stick together and live out the true meaning of why we pledge, to give back to our communities, service our communities. And then I came back home and went to the University District of Columbia, where I started working at Department of Recreation. So I started programming, doing developing programming for the youth and coaching. And then at 19, during my college career, one of my friends and my frat brother told me I should go on stage and tell jokes at an open mic. And I did that at a club called Mr. Henry's. And 6 months later, I was found by a brother named Bob Sumner, who was Russell Simmons' right-hand man, who was a talent director, and he put me on Def Comedy Jam. So then I I just went on it to start my career. So at 19 years old, I got on Def Jam and did the Apollo, and my career took off. And I started working over at BET for Teen Summit, and it's like my life took on a new college.
Right.
I started producing shows for the network, started hosting shows for the network, and the rest is
As they say,
kind of like history. Yeah.
well,
And it's funny because I just went back to UDC to take a DC politics class, and you know, of course, I was the oldest person in the class, but I feel like I was the smartest person in the class. Not as far as, you know, I was the smartest, but I know I got an A. I know I was super serious, super. But everybody in that class was super great students, and I wish I had the same drive as I do now as far as with college and education as I did then. But I guess God had like a higher purpose for me.
right.
So my education came a lot. When I left school, I was able to learn so much about not only life, but just educate myself and truly in vastly in a lot of ways.
Yeah, the on-hand knowledge. I was just speaking to the gentleman because this our studio is located within a community center as well in my old neighborhood in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. And
Nice.
we
Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out
yeah,
to Brooklyn.
salute.
I used to live in Brooklyn, so I always got, you know,
Where'd you live in Brooklyn?
I lived in Fort Greene.
Oh, so well, now that you're saying Fort Greene, salute to your fellow comedy compadre who is on Flatbush Misdemeanors, who was actually on the show, Mr. Kareem Green, who's from Fort Greene. Good
Yeah.
brother, funny brother. Yeah.
I used to stay with Donnell Rollins and Royale, and you know,
Wow.
up in Fort Greene. So we used to have some like good old times in
Hmm.
Fort Greene.
You can't, ain't no place in New York like Brooklyn. Brooklyn is its
Man,
own world.
it's his own world. You know, I lived in New York for 5 years, so
Mhm.
you know, New York was like my home for a long time. You know, it definitely bred me. After I left Fort Greene, I moved uptown to 145th and St. Nick,
Oh,
then
wow.
110th in Manhattan. You know, I've been all over New York.
Now, let me ask you, because we're speaking about that. I'm assuming that was in the 90s when you were living in New York?
Yep.
Oh, see? So let me ask you, what foundation was set for you to be able to handle yourself as a 19-year-old gentleman to being so mature and handling all these different changes in your life? You know, you just didn't go off the rails. You know, you alluded to the fact that when you were in school, you wish you had more focus. But even at 19, to be leaving home to go and try to make a life for yourself, you know, you probably had a solid household behind you.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I was focused in school
Mm-hmm.
because I was able to maintain, you know, my 3.0 and,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, pledge, you know, and you know, have a good time. But um, I just felt like when I got out of college, I was able. I think I was thrust into a situation where I had to be focused. When you're that young and you living in New York City, you know, you can't just be in New York City. You just, you know, every night I had to go out and try to make at least $75. You know, I had to get on every stage. You know, New York was the only place that you can go and you can get on 3 stages in one night.
Yes, sir.
So you know, a lot of learning is work ethic. You know, a lot of times, you know, people don't give you the credit that you deserve just for your work ethic.
Right.
And my foundation of work ethic was my mother and my father. You know, they both had strong work ethics,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's super important. No matter what you're doing in life, you know, some people are going to go on to college, and some people are not. But
Right.
you can never lose that work ethic. You can never give up on how important it is to get up and grind every day,
Yes, sir.
because you know it's, you know, sometimes people want to wait for it to come to them, but you all of us have, you know, well, most of us have an opportunity to get up and grind. So I just think that, you know, living in New York, DC and New York people to me are the
Yeah.
most. They grind hard, bro. Like they leave it all on the court.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No matter how they get it, they leave it all on the court. So, just work ethic and in itself is super important to me.
I think that's an incredible message while we're having a conversation, because I think that today's youth, and you spoke about how you were reaching back and in sports, and I think that's a very natural progression for somebody like yourself to go from student athlete to then coming back to your hometown and actually trying to help the youth through sports, because it's you're in that zone, right? But I think that it speaks to even a lot of the athletes that we've had on the show. A lot of the athletes that we had on the show spoke to that, the work ethic. And that's what I think is missing today. And I think that it transcends into discipline. A lot of our young people don't have that discipline. It's they want the end result. They don't want the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it's sad because we're not getting that to them. A lot of young people today are lost in that mix. Like they want so much, but that grind isn't there, right?
Well, I mean, I would say it like this. We have to find a way to implement discipline back into our communities, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's not a bad thing. When I
No.
say that, people are like, well, you can't beat your kids, you can't whoop your kids. I'm not saying discipline and whooping your kid is two different things.
Too different.
Our parents were a little different. They felt like discipline came with, if you out of line, you correct it in a certain way, but it's so many different ways to correct. I was at the Shaw Community Center in Washington, D.C. the other day, and the way they teach the students discipline is so incredible. It's like almost military, but it's not like that heavy. It's not as like that. But they are teaching the basic skills of discipline that you need to make it in life.
Right.
So and I feel like we have to continue to teach our kids discipline at a young age, respect, love, care, discipline. These things, help communities be better.
Yes, sir.
Because if you don't teach discipline and on whatever level, we become a community that's just are not connected in the same way. So, you can't have some people have discipline and then other people don't have discipline. We all have to have a sense of one.
Right.
And that's just, us giving back at an earlier age to our communities and giving back to our system of beliefs.
Yes, sir.
And if you lose that system of belief, I feel like you just have a community that's not structured.
There's a vacuum. There's a
It
void
is.
that needs filling.
It is.
Now, I find it interesting, Mr. Grant, because and I'm gonna keep calling you Mr. Grant until you tell me otherwise. I'm cool with it.
Hey, I'm cool. Whatever you call me, I'm gonna call you Mr. A. So it's all
right,
good.
cool. So, as a fan, I've always appreciated your comedy. Anytime I've ever seen you, you've made me laugh, and you've always had a very organic and original way of putting it together. Being in New York City, I've gone to the Boston Comedy Club, Madison Square, Nokia. I've attended all these sort of venues. And I look at your body of work and I say to myself, I wonder what happened to him to come away from comedy and say, I want to run for office. What is it that set it off inside of you to say, listen, I'm really going to do this? Because I have to say, when I saw you, I immediately took to comedy. I said, oh, Red's doing something new. And then I said, oh, wait a minute. No, he's serious. So what was it that brought you to this place?
I was called to this place.
Okay.
I think like any other part of my journey, I was steered toward there. Like even when I was in college, some of the reasons that I had to come home and I had to lose my scholarships and at that time, you know, I felt like, dang, you know, why me?
Right.
Uh, but when I go back and look at the journey, I see how God be putting it together.
The alignment.
Yeah, super alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So three and a half years ago, maybe almost 4 years now, I started this journey, and of course, it's about researching. Also, it's about getting in line uh, with not only him but also your family, and you know, of course, I had to talk to my wife, my kids. We were living in LA at the time, and of course, you can't live in LA and run for mayor of Washington D.C.
Right.
No matter if it's your hometown or not, you gotta
Yes, sir.
you have to, you know, uproot your life and make a real decision. But I think that as I started to get more involved with uh, service to my community, and like I said, you know, just pledging itself, you know, I feel like, you know, sometimes we get involved with fraternities, sororities, but we don't really give back, right?
Yes, sir.
You know, sometimes people do it for the fame and do it for the, you know, the letters, but I started really like looking into politics and why it wasn't more of us being involved with that. And as you know, and when people say to me like, you know, Red, when I first saw it, you know, I thought you was joking, right? And I was like, why would you think that? Like, it shocks me. It shocks me that people thought I was like playing for some reason. And I'm like, I mean, was I playing when I started my nonprofit organizations? Was I playing when I was, you know, producing 25 shows with a Viacom network? You know, was I playing when I became a humanitarian, a philanthropist, and started giving back? And was I playing when I made my first movie and started my first film company? You know, was I playing then? And then I had to back up and not take it so personal.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I had to, you know, because some of my partners would be like, "Man, don't take it so personal, Red." I'd be like, "Nah, but they don't understand. We're not playing here. There's no joke in our community. It's real. You know,
Yeah.
the public safety in our community is serious. You know, DC has like some of the highest rates of murders in the world, and nobody's caring about the kids and our youth. And how do we get them back on track? And affordable housing is not affordable anymore. I mean, I go off on them, and this is real things for me. We
Right.
can't even live in our cities anymore. You know, places that we grew up, we can't even live because people are selling our city to developers and gentrifying our cities to the point where we can't even live in it. We can't even afford it. I mean,
Mm.
this is problems. You know, our homeless problems. Real people who are our citizens are living on the ground and living in tents, and nobody's caring about this. Like that, our education system is failing us, our kids. And I go off and on and on and on and on. And they
Hmm.
like, all right, Red, just relax. I'm like, I can't relax. You know, maybe you can relax. I can't relax.
Right.
This is a real situation that our kids are failing and we are failing them. And you know, I mean, every day I've been fighting like that for like 4 years, like trying to get people to understand that we need a leader that really, really, really cares about what the people are screaming at them.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I mean,
sir.
they screaming at them, like telling them I'm hurting,
Right.
and our leaders are like, huh, it's all right. We give them some fluff. We'll fluff them around, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it is not a fluff situation anymore.
Right.
It's real problems happening
I
with
don't.
no solutions.
Exactly. At this point, I'm under the impression that you and I are probably in the same age bracket, and
Okay.
if you've experienced the same things I have, um, especially New York and DC being so somewhat parallel, they're pretty much the same place, so to speak, right? And when you speak about these issues, you and I both know it's never been fluff. It's never been fluff for us. We've never needed fluff. We need boots on the ground and action being taken. And right now, New York City is suffering. Is suffering with the same situations, and it sort of annoys me to a point, because it's like it seems like we're electing personalities. Like, oh, this guy sounds great, no action. Oh, this woman sounds great, no action. It's nothing for our communities, I guess, is what I'm driving at. And I think that somebody like yourself, who's so invested in your city, you can hear the way you speak, the passion is there. And it doesn't seem like you have a half step in your life. I mean, like I said, going back to your first point, being 19 and moving to New York, and having to make $75 a night, performing on multiple stages. You know, you probably got 20 here, you got to go get 15 over there. Running around the city is not easy. You know, you got to deal with that in and of itself. Mm-hmm. So now you're in this place, and your path has somewhat been, you know, aligned, as we said. And do you have the ability now to sort of bring people together as a collective? Because as I understand it right now, DC is about 48.8%, I believe, Black people, right? Mm-hmm. And there's about 47.3% of white folks, and there's about 11 point whatever percent of Latinos. How are you able to bring those people together under that one idea of, you know, I'm not going to be just their mayor, I'm going to be our mayor, but I'm going to be attacking these issues that are affecting us?
Well, I think that it goes back to, like, when I say to people, like, you know, I'm not a politician, I'm a humanitarian. You know, they always jump on my throat. They like, well, Red, you are a politician now. You're a politician. I'm like, understand what I'm saying to you. It's all right to be a human and be in a field where you work. You know, yeah, you might call it politics. You might call it, but you got to have human elements to these situations, because if you once you lose the human element of that, then that's when you become these politicians that just hit you with the, okay, yeah, we talk to my, or do, yeah, yeah. And it becomes like a bunch of BS that, you know, that don't make sense. And most people who know me know that I get along with everybody. You know, I'm able to understand every situation that's going on in my city, no matter what color you are.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I grew up in Southeast Washington, D.C. I probably didn't see white people till I was a certain age, you know, in real life. Went to school with all Black people and everything. But then as God moved me out of that situation, he also introduced me to other things, other people, other cultures. And this was super important for my life, to be able to understand other people and be comfortable with those relationships. And I think it's very important that we continue to build those type of relationships. Like someone said to me the other day, well, you won't be able to get to the white people. I'm like, what? White people are my friends too.
Yes, sir.
Black people are my friends too. Africans are my friends. Asians are my friends. Muslims, Christians, Jewish, Indians. I mean, I have friends of all races, creeds, colors. I just hate when people try to put us under a box,
yeah,
of learning and understanding. And you know, it's when people call things racism, I look at it differently. I look at things as lack of culture. You know, people don't get a chance to come into where your community is and learn how things are. Or you don't go into somebody else's community and learn how they are. And it's a separation of cultures, not just, you know, a race, it's of cultures. And we got to get out that mindset, because if we don't, we'll never be able to help one another to the fullest of our potential.
Yes, sir.
And I want to allow people to put me in a box, and they know that. They know that you can't tell me who I can associate myself with or who I can help. And I can only be able to help this person and that person. That's not going to happen with Red Grant.
Mm.
We're gonna face the problems head on together. And I work every day hard as hell in this campaign, knocking on everybody's door, from Ward 8 all the way to Ward 1. And we get up, we wearing shoes out, knocking on doors.
Them Stacey Adams is worn
Man,
down to the nub, huh?
Vans,
Oh,
vans,
the
how
Vans.
hard it is to run out some Vans.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
These are skater shoes.
Yes, they are. That's exactly what they are. They built for that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like to me that you have a very strong understanding of the language that you need to speak. It needs to be a universal language.
Yeah.
And it seems like you're coming from a very real place. You understand wholeheartedly that the problems that affect some should affect us all. And we need to collectively get it together so that we can help each other. And I think that right now, a lot of people are they're under this delusion that politicians, career politicians, are really in place to help them. And I see somebody like yourself who speaks with such passion and such fire about what he wants to do. Is there a moment in time that you feel in your heart any doubt about what you're doing right now? Or do you feel like this is like ordained? Like God has put this on my life, so this is what I'm going to do and it's going to happen.
I've never had a doubt. Like since I got into it, I'm just that type of individual. Once he pushes the button, I go all out. But I never had a doubt. He gave me the vision super clearly. And once I understood the vision, I understood, where I was going. He started placing the right people in my life, smart, super smart people. And I think I have I know I have the smartest campaign team right now around me. I have real politicos that have been doing this for years on top of years. And the things that I didn't know, I know now. As far as, politically.
Right.
Yeah, because I feel like, my background really taught me how to become a good politician, right? And I say that in a way that, entertainment is political, has always been.
Always.
Regardless if you see it or we're not, what they call the normal politicians, but, it takes political moves to get through this entertainment business.
Yes, sir.
And if you want to be the best at what you do, you got to work hard at it. You got to make the right connects. You can't burn bridges. You got to work with everybody. And you got to bring on your own policies. That's what we talk about on stage. They are our own policies. And I think I've been creating policies for a long time, not even knowing I was creating policy. Talking about, moms being, a single mom or single parent. How did she get through that? How did my pops do what he was doing? How do my kids go through what they go through? How did my wife go through what she go through? It's always family oriented and it's always, policy driven. I've been broke. I've been rich. I've been homeless. I've had poor education. I have great education. And I've been in situations where I understood that it's not affordable to live. No, these is real things. Sleeping on people couches, sleeping in my car. He has given me every opportunity to see everything. Been homeless. And I always say God is the funny one. He always show you exactly what you need to see.
Yeah.
To be able to deal with the things that you have to do. So
do you feel, sorry to cut you off, but
no.
I definitely have to ask you this. Do you feel like the lessons in life of adversity that you've experienced sort of much, prepared you for this moment that you're in now?
Well, I know it has. You know, that's why I say he's funny, because I'm able to experience things that some people will never see in their life, and I mean directly see it, like with my own eyes, and
Firsthand.
yeah, this, you know, I've seen, even through family, drug addictions and you know real life things that are happening in our community right now, mental health.
Hmm.
Uh, that's happening directly in our communities right now. And this ain't nothing that I think I know about. I seen it,
Yes, sir.
you know, and my wife is actually a retired police officer. I've seen, public safety on a first-hand basis inside of my home. Just like, my wife come home and telling me and talking to me, and just dealing with our youth right now that are troubled youth is a real situation. Gun violence is real out here, and our kids are right on that fence that they can go either way. And I
Sir.
want them to go this way, you know. So even me running as an independent is all strategic.
Ooh, I'm glad you said that. That was going to be my next question. So you're not aligned with either party.
Mm-mm.
Good for you. I'm
No,
sure you get.
we're not
Yeah,
left, we're not right, we're straight, we're going straight forward,
there you
you
go.
know.
I'm sure you're getting a lot of pushback because if you're not down with the system, they, nobody gonna
Oh,
try to throw no money your way. They know you can't really
no,
be bought. You know what I
no.
mean?
They wondering why how we still in the race right now and not being able to raise millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Mm,
And they like, how does he do this? How
mm,
does he have the same material that we have? And we raising $5-6 million.
mm.
You know, it's, and I always tell people it's about the grind.
Yes, sir.
It's about getting out there in people's faces when you don't have any money. You still got your legs. You still can go and move. Move. Don't let nobody stop you and get you in a depression state. Like, oh, we don't have millions of dollars. Nah, but we got more heart than they got.
That's a fact.
You know.
We have
So
the
running,
experience.
yeah, and running as an independent is something I had to do. I've been a Democrat my whole life, and I would say I'm still a Democrat, but I'm running an independent party. No party affiliation, nonpartisan. I want to be able to reach my Democrats, Republicans, statehood, Green Party, independents, and any other person who lives in our society that might don't even believe in politics. I
Right.
want them to have a voice too. And we have to have someone that can reach on all sides of the aisle, especially if we want statehood in our city.
Wow, that's a big issue. Another good segue. Do you feel that DC is long overdue for statehood?
Way long overdue. I'm just saying we way long overdue for not only statehood, we're way long overdue for our voting rights, our real voting rights
Yes, sir.
in Congress.
Yes, sir.
We don't have any representation in Congress. Yeah, we have shadow senators, we have congresswomen that can introduce laws, but we can't vote on them.
Mm,
I say that's a shame. We have almost 800,000 people, almost a million people are in this city, more than some states, and we don't have statehood. And
wow.
we pay higher taxes than anybody per capita, 17.4% tax.
Wow.
We pay that. The
Right.
people who live here, but we don't have no right to vote, no voting rights. And the way Congress working now, if the Republicans get a hold of this in November, they probably would take uh, our voting rights down to a minimum.
Mm.
We probably would go to a point where we won't have even a mayor or council members at all. So, this is a serious situation for us. You
Very
know,
much so. Very much so.
in 1867, black men got their opportunity to vote in Washington, D.C., right?
Mm-hmm.
7 years later, because of the strength of what we were, our voting power, we were making so much difference that they said, forget anybody can vote. They took voting away all the way from every citizen in Washington, D.C. It
Damn.
didn't come back until 100 years later in 1974. But we got, yeah, where we got our opportunity to vote again. And, that's where we live under home rule, partial
Yes,
rule.
sir.
They call it home rule, but it's partial rule. And we still like a hidden colony.
You guys are tucked away like the stepchild.
Yeah, we're super tucked away in a city where all the decisions of our country are being made.
And not only that, the money that's flowing through DC, all the financial and economical decisions that are made there.
Well, see, that's what they do. They think they're gonna give us a little money for our budgets that we don't spend properly,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna say, okay, we'll go away. We'll hide. We won't say nothing. Nah, it's some loud voices around here, and a lot of the things that we talk about and that I talk about, people say, well, Reg, you need to be quiet. No, I don't need to be quiet. I won't be quiet. I can't be quiet. My grandmothers and my great grandmothers and their grandparents, they were silenced by whips and chains and different ways of stopping them from talking. Jim Crow, and we're in a situation where we have a voice and we won't use it. I think that's ridiculous.
I think that more people today feel like when you go outside of the norms, the accepted norms, whether it be politically or what have you, there's a lot of blowback and pushback, and they're scared of that. They want to go along and get along.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have people like yourself that are willing to take on the fight and the challenge and step to the plate and face it head on. And I think that's the most admirable part of what you're doing, because again, when I initially saw you in a promo for running for mayor, I was like, oh, I gotta watch this. I think Rez got some new sort of material he's doing. And when I saw you were serious and I heard you speak, because again, I'm coming from the lens of, or the perspective of, comedy. I've never seen a serious side of you. So to see you sitting here right now having this exchange with me, and you have this very focused look on your face, I'm not used to it. I'm used to seeing the funny, right? So it took me aback. But once I sat and listened to you and I saw how committed you were to what you were doing, I was like, wow, this is a wonderful thing for his city. It's a great story on top of it all. The prodigal son returns home and runs for mayor, becomes mayor of his city, and it's a great story. But he also has a very laser sharp focus on what it is that he wants to do for the city. He's not gonna, mess around.
Well, most people let's go through our comedians, right, in life, right? Off stage. Let's go off stage. Because 10% of my life, yeah, I make people laugh.
Right.
But 90% I don't, right? Let's go Dick Gregory.
Ooh.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's start Dick, right? When they're off stage. We talking about off stage now.
Yes, sir.
Let's go Richard Pryor.
Mm.
Let's go Red Fox.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about off stage. Let's go
Heavy
Dave Chappelle.
Beast.
Let's go Cat Williams. Off stage.
Smart.
And I can go on and on, and Chris Rock. I can go on and on and on and on down the line of all the comedians that are comedians that are super successful. Who are they off stage?
Yeah.
So why do people think that we're some clowns or something?
Mm.
And why do they think that it's a joke when we're off stage, when we're helping and we're doing things? That's why I told people I'm retiring from comedy. I don't tell jokes. I'm not a comedian. Don't call me a comedian. I'm retired. So it's just like if you're a bus driver and you've been working all your life and you retire, you're not a bus driver anymore. If you, whatever you do in life, if you retire, you say, I'm retired, take my retirement serious. I'm not a comedian anymore. I'm running for the office of mayor of Washington, D.C. That's what I do. I do it on a daily basis. November 8th will be history in Washington, D.C. It will be the Super Bowl of elections. The general election will be the biggest election in American history in Washington, D.C. on November 8th. And the 275,000 people who did not vote in the last general election will come out and vote, and their voices will be heard, and they will choose a new candidate. And I will be the first independent candidate of Washington, D.C. to be mayor of Washington, D.C.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard that here first. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm your host, Mr. A, and tonight we're speaking with the retired comedian, Mr. Red Grant. And I think he's delivered a message in a way that I sort of was expecting. But to be here in this moment, sharing it with him and listening to him, I think it hit me a lot more. His message is more impactful than I really expected. And I respect Mr. Grant's passion, and I think it's an amazing thing what he's doing. And I think that he's laying the groundwork to really make a change. And everybody should be behind him. I mean, especially the people from the parts of this country that we all come from should definitely get behind and support what he's doing. And all the people in DC, you need to get behind the hometown hero, because Mr. Grant really understands what needs to get done in the city. And I'm sure he is well aware of what he needs to do to handle the finances and the runnings of the city, the economy itself. I really don't think he's going into this blind.
Well, I'm the only one. I'm the only one in this race that is actually has been an executive. I'm the only one who's worked for the Viacom Network, one of the biggest corporations in the world. They've entrusted me to employ thousands of people, work with millions of dollars in budgets, and produce over 25 television shows for them. They entrusted that in me. This is not. They don't just put that in people's hands. That doesn't happen like that.
No,
So.
sir.
When it comes to understanding that DC is a corporation and it does have to have a big budget, it has to have someone that runs, understands how to run a budget, not just hires a person to understand, but understands themselves and hire a person at the same time to understand how to run our city. And that's been the problem. We have too many legislators trying to be executives, and they don't know anything about running the city. And that's why we right now have been named the worst run city in America. That's us right now. It just came out. We are the worst run city in America. Yeah, Red Grant said it. We are the worst run city in America, and we're going to change that. And our administration are going to come in and make sure that we're not the worst run city in America. We're going to be one of the best run cities in America, and we're going to change things around where people see us and want to mimic us, how a city should be run. I think that's where I know that's where we're going, and we're going to make people say, damn, they made a super flip by putting one person in place who understood how to make other people and help bring up things in our city that means something and give back to our city. This is low hanging fruit. A lot of these things that we're missing.
Right.
How to get get funds to our communities, and I everybody who knows me, I'm always about, preaching, let's get out and get it. Let's go get it. But sometimes people need a little help.
Yes, sir. And that's
and
okay.
It's okay. But once you getting the help and you pushing towards trying to get, something for your family and move in the right direction, that should be glorified. That should be, put on the pedestal. It's a lot of kids go to school every day with no money in their pocket, have no finances, no parental guidance or nothing, and they go and get good grades and fight through the system. They should be, rewarded. They should be put on pedestals and pushed and helped We get $150 million a year in camera tickets, and none of them goes to kids' college education when they graduate.
Wow.
I mean,
You,
these is real. These are real numbers.
yeah. And the funny thing that I'm glad you brought that up about speed cameras. We have an issue in New York right now where the speed cameras are about to be turned on 24/7. So that means that the
They've been
city.
turned on 24/7 here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've
That
been
is, it's
for
absurd.
years and years.
Ye-
Stop sign cameras, speed cameras, light cameras, bushes cameras. We got cameras, so many cameras. I feel like it's like a photo album happening.
a surveillance state. They're
And
snapping
it's super
pictures everywhere.
surveillance, and it's to a point that it doesn't just affect uh, people with money. It's affecting the people with no money more than it affects people with money. And these tickets are $100 a ticket. You don't pay it, it's 200. Then it triples, and then you have to lose your license. Then you can't go to work. Then you can't do things. Man, that has to stop. We have to have a system where you can't penalize the people that live in Washington D.C. just to get the money.
I think that's a part of the issue. People don't understand how strong their voices are, Mr. Grant. Right now in New York City, they're about to turn these cameras on 24/7, and the speed limit is 25 miles an hour. In a city as large as ours, how are you supposed to get anywhere? I understand the safety issues and so on, but right now, inflation is happening. People are having a hard time keeping food on the table, let alone putting gas in their car. So you essentially what I'm saying is the government continues to crush the working and the working poor. Like, how are we supposed to get beyond that? It just
Like New
doesn't.
York, New York for all this time, right?
Yes, sir.
People know one thing about New York. People know how to drive in New York. It's a New York system.
Yes, sir.
You actually are you're slowing down the way people move in the city when you do things like that.
Yes,
To
sir.
do what? Like who? Like of course you got to care about safety, but some of this stuff it's not becoming less safe
Yes, sir.
with these systems being employed. You know, so what's is it for accolations or you know I need to I created a bill
Yeah.
and we got it done. We are the one who made people drive 18 miles per hour in New York. For what?
Optics. Yeah, we made
What
it. We made it look like we did something. All we did
for
was.
what? Like
Yeah.
New York is New York. That's like saying, okay, we're gonna have our trains go 2 miles per hour because we don't want to hit rats.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I mean, it's like sometimes we create problems with certain things, and everybody wants to be powerful and important. That's why I always talk about purpose over popularity. It's too many people want to be popular instead of understanding the purpose.
Yes,
What's
sir.
the purpose of it? Tell me the purpose. And don't just say safety. Well, safety. No, it's bigger than that. You
And
know,
it's refreshing to hear somebody like yourself speak because it sounds like you're more about the substance. You're more about helping the people and actually doing the people's work, which is the reality of government, or supposed to be. They're supposed to be doing the people's work. And there's no way anybody could tell me over the last 20 years that you feel like the government's actually working in your best interest.
mm-hmm.
They're just not, right? Look at all the problems we have. They don't seem too bothered about them. We're talking about people that are millionaires. What's
Man, they lose their passion when they get in office, right? And people
Mhm.
keep saying, Red, well, don't change when you get in office. Somebody actually said to me the other day, and I have to hold back my I would say my passion because I'm really straightforward in your face once you say something. But they was like, Red, what you coming back home to run for mayor to get money? I said, I'm losing money running for mayor of Washington, D.C. I'm
Hello?
actually losing money. I didn't come home to get money to no, I don't want people to have no false thinking of why I came and running for mayor. Then somebody said, well, what you clout chasing? I said, clout chasing? I've been famous since I was 19 years old. I don't need no clout.
Yes, sir.
Clout is the last thing. That's the last thing I need.
Yes.
I don't need clout. Clout doesn't help anybody. That's why I'm going to continue to say purpose over popularity. And I'm going to continue to fight for the people who can't fight for themselves. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. So what? I'm came in this system to stir this system up, and we're going to change the system. We're going to help this system, and we're going to make this system a better system. And we're going to bring better morale to our system. Morale is the key. Working morale is the key to push it and give people the opportunity to be great. Right now, people are suffering, and they don't feel like the government cares, and I don't feel like the government cares. And that's why I'm home, and that's why I'm doing what I do.
Well, all right. Let me say this. I want to ask for a bit of a promise.
Mm-hmm.
Come November, if and when you win, you have to clown. You have to like, you really got to clown your competition. You even just for a minute, just roast them a little, just a little bit. You know what I mean? Just, get at them just a little something.
I mean, I can't make that promise, but I'm gonna smile real hard. Just know that.
For sure. There's that laughter. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest has been gracious enough to give us his time. I do not want to hold him any longer. I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's show. Mr. Grant, let me say something to you. As a fan, I've always loved your work, but as a man, a father, and a husband, I respect what you're doing, and I hope wholeheartedly that in November you win this election, right? And I also hope that at some point during your tenure, I will be able to come down to DC, even if it's 10 minutes, and witness firsthand what you're doing, because I would really like to see the work that you're going to be putting down in your hometown.
Now, I appreciate it, Mr. A. Look, I'm gonna tell people like this. I got to get this off, and I end with this. It's super important that you GOTV, get out the vote wherever you are in the world. Stop talking about, well, I can't make a change. Yes, you can make a change. Your vote does matter. Your vote does count, and we have to change our mentality around that, because if we keep that mentality, they will continue to win. They will continue to keep their foot on your neck, and we're able to get up off that ground with our votes, and it's super important. So I always tell people, go to grantformayordc.com, hit the donation button, donate. I don't care if it's $5, help us as an independent candidate, or max donate if you can. Make sure if you're not registered to vote, you can register on grantformayordc.com and use your power. Don't just like be the one to say, I'm going to, I can't make a change. It's never going to happen. Yeah, you can. Just try, get up and try.
Yes, sir. All right. Listen, Mr. Grant, I'm going to get all that information you just laid out. I'm going to get it from you. And that's going to go up on our page, our Instagram. It's also going to be heading on over to Social Nostra. This interaction, this show is going to be on Social Nostra the following week. We have a huge audience over there. So hopefully we can get out some people to support you. But what I want to do right now is, can I put you in the green room for a sec so I can close the show out?
Yeah.
Just 2 more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next mayor of DC, and you heard it here first on the set 6145, Mr. Rodney Red Grant. Just sit tight, sir.
I got you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. It's a wonderful way to return. Mr. Grant is just an amazing person, gracious enough to give us his time, and we really appreciate it. I hope everybody enjoys a nice week coming up. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll be back next week. All right?